I'm Brandon Smith, founder of altmarket.com and Guerrilla Think Tank. Today, we're out in the wilds of Montana to discuss the ultimate survival and self-defense rifle setup. I guess the first question we have to ask is there such a thing as an ultimate rifle or a perfect rifle? Well, if you frequent any gun forum on the internet, you're probably going to get the same exact answer every single time you ask this question. They'll say a gun is a tool, and you need the right tool for the job that you're trying to do. If you're trying to drive a nail into a 2x4, don't use a screwdriver, or something like that. Now, guys say this in gun forums all the time because it makes them sound very smart without knowing very much, but it doesn't really answer the question that was asked. At Guerrilla Think Tank, I don't give cop-out answers. I'm really going to try to answer the question here. In all my years of rifle training, I have come across one rifle setup that I think is the closest to what you might call a perfect rifle setup for survival and self-defense. What is the perfect rifle setup for survival and self-defense? Well, in my opinion, it's the SPR, the Special Purpose Rifle. Let's go over and take a look at my rifle setup real quick to give you an idea of what an SPR is. Okay, I should explain real quick what I mean by a perfect rifle or an ultimate rifle. What I mean by that is a rifle, as far as survival and self-defense in a survival situation, what I mean is a rifle that does almost everything or everything that you need it to do. That means, can you shoot at close range with it? Can you shoot at long range with it? Can you hunt with it? Can you carry it? Can you carry all the ammo that you need for it? Is it fast in close quarters, and is it fast at long range? Can you acquire targets quickly with it? Also, is it durable? Will it stand the rigors of a survival situation in which your rifle will be slammed against the ground or dropped over and over and over again? I believe the SPR, a Special Purpose Rifle, fits most of these categories, if not more, and I'm going to show you my SPR setup here real quick and explain why I put it together the way I did. I've heard this rifle setup described in a number of different ways. I've heard them called special purpose rifles. I've heard them called DMRs, or designated marksman rifles. I've heard them called Overwatch rifles. All of these descriptions insinuate that the rifle is set up for a very narrow purpose, or very narrow purposes. I would disagree with that, actually. I think the SPR setup is a great setup for a number of different situations. The rifle I chose for my SPR setup is obviously an AR-15, and I chose first of all, I love my .308 rifles. I have an Armalite AR-10A, which is one of my favorite rifles. However, as much as I love the .308 round and my .308 rifles, I've had to force myself to admit that being able to carry more ammo is a priority, especially in a survival situation. The AR-15 I chose for my SPR is a H&K MR556 upper with a Seekins Precision lower. The MR556 is a piston-driven system. I'm not going to get into any debate over piston versus DI. I think it's a stupid debate. They both work fine. Whatever you like is what you like. I chose the MR556 primarily because it's extremely durable rifle, and it's also extremely reliable. The first thing I added to this rifle in order to make it an SPR, and you kind of have to have this for your rifle to be an SPR, is a variable power scope. And not just any variable power scope, it needs to be a 1-4 or a 1-6 or a 1-8. It needs to be as close to 1 power as possible. The reason for this is at 1 power, you can acquire targets at extremely close range almost as fast as a red dot. I love my red dots too. I love my aim points. They're an excellent choice. You get basically for around $500-600, you get a combat ready optic, which is really hard to do with a scope. The problem with red dots is that when you're shooting at longer range, it is much harder, if not impossible, to identify the target that you're shooting at. A lot of guys will brag about how they can hit targets with their red dot out to 400, 500 yards, and that's great. Good on you. However, if you're in most cases, I imagine you're shooting those targets at a sterile shooting range, and you know exactly what you're shooting at before you pull the trigger every time. This is not going to work for a survival situation or a breakdown in rule of law. You need to be able, every time, to identify targets at range. You never want to pull that trigger unless you know exactly what you're shooting at. A scope, a variable power scope, is the only thing that's going to allow you to do that. The scope I'm running on this rifle is a SWFA 1-4 standard model. In a lot of cases, I would recommend that you spend as much on your scope, or close to as much on your scope, as you spent on your rifle. There are plenty of cheap Chinese scopes out there that will get you out to 1,000 yards just as well as a $3,000 Schmidt & Bender. However, what a lot of people overlook over and over and over again is the issue of durability. I absolutely would not trust a cheap scope or a Chinese-made scope in a survival situation. There are a couple of companies out there that I would make an exception. One of those companies is SWFA. They have an excellent track record of making very durable scopes. Also, this particular scope has probably my favorite reticle of all the 1-4, 1-6 variable scopes that I've found. For your SPR setup, you're going to need a scope that has a mil-dot reticle, not just a bullet drop compensating reticle. With a mil-dot reticle, you can do everything a BDC scope will do, plus more. The SWFA scope is really cool because it has a mil-dot reticle and it also has a BDC setup. I would also recommend that you use a scope that has an illumination option for low light conditions. You're really going to need that. This scope does not have daylight bright illumination, and I would say that you don't need it. You do not need a scope with daylight bright illumination, and when you go looking for scopes with daylight bright illumination, you're either going to sacrifice durability or you're going to pay a lot more money. What I found with the SWFA scope is it's just about as durable as a lot of scopes, 3 times its price. And the only thing you really sacrifice is daylight bright illumination and also battery life. You're going to need a really tough mount to mount your scope to your rifle. I'm running a LaRue tactical mount. Something else I would recommend is an accurized trigger or a precision trigger. I'm using a single stage trigger. That's just what I like to run. Two-stage triggers will work fine. I would just go for a lighter trigger for an SPR. The next thing you'll notice here is I'm running a 20-round mag. With an SPR, you're going to be doing a lot of overwatch, you're going to be doing a lot of precision shooting, and you're going to need to be as low to the ground as possible in the prone position, so I'd recommend having at least a few 20-round mags on hand. The other thing I've added is a Harris bipod on a quick detach mount. I just keep it on me at all times just in case I need to set up an overwatch position. Another thing that's really essential for an SPR is an accurate barrel, a precision barrel. The cool thing about the MR556 is it comes from the factory with a heavier, very accurate barrel. A lot of factory rifles do not come with super accurate barrels. You're usually lucky if you get about 2-inch groups at 100 yards with a factory rifle. So you may have to change out the barrel on a rifle you already have, or you will need to build your AR from scratch. Something else in terms of the barrel that really makes this an SPR is the fact that it has a 1 in 7 twist. A 1 in 7 twist barrel will allow you to shoot the heavier 5.56 rounds, such as the 75 grains or the 77 grains. I'd also point out that with this setup, you're perfectly able to hunt small to medium game, including deer and antelope. There's a myth out there in the gun world that it's unethical to hunt deer with the 223 or the 5.56. As long as you're running a dedicated 223 hunting round, you should have no problems whatsoever. I should say that this is how I've set up my SPR system. You don't have to purchase the same exact gear that I have here. I just recommend that you follow the same concept that I've laid out. The way this rifle is set up, it will be effective from 0 to around 600 yards. I can carry a lot more 5.56 rounds than 308 rounds, so it's a huge plus in the weight department. It's also extremely durable and extremely accurate. So now that we have a pretty good idea of what an SPR is, let's go outside and do a little testing, a little showcasing. You can see how effective it actually is. First, let's check the accuracy of the rifle at 100 yards. This is already zeroed for the IMI 77 grain, so let's just shoot a group and see what we can do. Now that we've sighted in the rifle and done our accuracy tests, let's do some close quarter shooting. I'm going to shoot at a man-shaped target, about 1/3 man-sized target at about 20 yards. I'm not the fastest shooter in the world by any means, but let's try it out. We'll see how quick we can get shots on a minute of 1/3 man at 20 yards. Okay, next let's set up a barrier penetration test. I'm going to set up 2 concrete blocks, each 2 inches apiece, so that's about 4 inches of concrete. I'm pretty sure I know exactly how this test is going to go. I've seen plenty of these tests with the 62 grain penetrators. Usually they'll go through about 2 inches of concrete and then they'll be stopped. I've actually never seen a test on YouTube or anywhere else with a 77 grain bullet, so I thought I'd try that out, and we'll see what happens. Okay, as you can see, the 77 grain IMI went through the first 2 inches of concrete and did not go through the second 2 inches of concrete. So we have some penetration, some barrier penetration, but you know, this is one area where 223 or 5.56 is going to be lacking. Let's see what we got here. We got a little bullet here. Yeah, so there's one area where the gun is not going to do everything. This is why I still love 308, because 308 will go right through just about anything. But yeah, at least we got some penetration out of the 223. I think, you know, honestly, we got more than I thought we would, so that's good.
All right, on to the next test.
Now we're going to try shooting the rifle at range. In this area we can get about 400 yards. So let's try the rifle out at around 400 yards, see how quickly we can get shots on target. Okay, so as we've seen, the SPR, Special Purpose Rifle setup, does a lot of things very well. Some things it's lacking, but overall I would say it's about the closest that you're going to get to an ultimate rifle for survival, or a perfect rifle for survival and self-defense. I would really encourage people to have at least one rifle in their collection that is set up in this way. I do think it will become your go-to rifle in the event that there is a SHTF or a collapse situation. Before I close out this video, I just want to mention that I will not be using Google Ads or AdSense on YouTube in order to generate revenue for these videos and for this channel. From the evidence I've seen so far, it appears that Google and YouTube are cutting off that avenue for people, especially people with conservative channels or gun-related channels. I suspect in order to drive us all off of YouTube. Making these videos is costly and it's time-consuming. So in order to generate revenue, in order to keep making these videos, I have to rely on you, the audience. If you would like to support Guerrilla Think Tank and keep more videos like this coming, please check the description below for our donate link. Every little bit counts, so if you are able to do that, I appreciate it greatly. I appreciate your patronage. Something else I do want to mention is that Guerrilla Think Tank does have its first sponsor for our channel. Our sponsor for this video is Birch Gold Group. Those of you that are regular readers at altmarket.com know I'm a huge proponent of protecting your savings with gold and silver. Gold and silver have been excellent performers for the past couple of years now. In fact, they're outperforming a lot of stocks, and I believe that gold and silver will be doing even better in the next 2 years. If you're interested in learning more about gold and silver as an investment, or protecting your 401k or IRA with precious metals, please go check out Birch Gold Group. Regardless of the scale of the crash or the crisis that might occur, there's always a window of time before the worst part of it and after the worst part of it that gold and silver perform extremely well and are highly sought after. Which means if you're holding gold and silver in that window of time, you're going to be able to purchase a lot more gear and a lot more food and whatever else you need. A lot more of that stuff than you would be able to purchase with cash in these types of events. So please give our sponsor some love, check out the link provided, and also check out their free information packet. If you like this video, don't forget to hit that like button and don't forget to hit that subscribe button. It was fun producing another video for you guys. Thank you for watching.